can see I have a hard time holding a job. Anyway, I want to first of all thank Long Island Capital Alliance for having me. This is a very intelligent group of people. As a number of years ago, they awarded me an award of Long Island Businessman of the Year, Herman Fialkov Award. So obviously, a bunch of very intelligent people here.
I forgot, David, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'll do it. I can do that. Also, just for accuracy, the program has been listed as still working at Globecom. Nothing could be further from the truth. I started the company, we're now 7 months into SDS Global after leaving Globecom about a year and a half, leaving Globecom over a year and a half ago. I hope you don't find this presentation too basic, and I'm sure a lot of you know all of the stuff I'm going to talk about, but a lot of the things that I've learned over the years that are important to me as far as running a business and being successful at it. I started in '59. Satellite communications was a new business. I got into communications. I was a ham radio at 11. My dad was a civil engineer. He said, "You're not going to work for me. You're too sloppy when you make your drawings. So you're going to be an electrical engineer. You're going to be in comms." So I got into satellite, which was a new field, and SDS in '76 and Globecom in '94. I think one of the things that was important to me was a disruptive technology. Satellite communications was brand new in '59 when I started. And I think that gives everybody a really good opportunity, because you have sort of a level playing field to get into a business and really want to get to the top relatively quickly, because you don't have a lot of competition. I have a few core values that have always been important to me, and I think one of the most important things is, my lawyer told me, when you run your business, run it like everything you do is going to be on the front page of the New York Times. Everybody's going to know it. It's sort of a basic principle, but you'd be surprised how many people don't follow that. You do is look at the news. And I think having integrity in running your business is nothing else, I think, that comes close. When I started Globecom, give you an example, I got a contract, there were 3 of us in the company. I got a contract for $3 million to build some terminals for Hughes, who's been a client for years. And I had very little money in the bank. I had to buy about $2.5 million worth of equipment, and did it all on a handshake with no guarantee of how I'm going to pay anybody back. Nobody even asked me about that. So I think that has a lot to say about the integrity of the people of our company and the people we work with. Unfortunately, nowadays you can't really do that, so I got to go out and raise some money. So I think from our standpoint, trying to make sure that your customers and your employees and your vendors, you treat them the same and treat them very well, and make sure your people know who pays their bills, and try to get the whole company in line with your vision. And the understanding that it's very, very easy to lose a customer and very, very hard to get them back. One of the things that I read recently that I think something I intuitively knew was that Peter Thiel wrote in his book that it's important, if I'm going to invest in a company, that I go with a group of people that have been together for a number of years and been successful. And I think we've been able to do that. When I started in '76, a number of the people I work with at ITT in New Jersey came with us. From SDS, went to Globecom. We had about 125 people come from SDS to Globecom. And now, on our new company, it was sort of ready-made, because when it was bought out, they laid off a lot of the better people, so I could start a company with some of the key guys that have been with me for many, many years. I think that's really important in starting any company and investing in any company. These are, I think, a lot of ideas that you probably pretty much understand, but I will give you a copy. I don't want to just read all these things. I can give you a copy of these things. I think most of it is not rocket science. I think the important thing is the integrity and the honesty is really the most important thing you can bring to an organization, and you got to lead it do it by example. And if you're going to have a company with a brand that everybody respects, make sure that you treat everybody honestly and maintain the integrity of your company. The employees obviously are the most important part of the company. One of the things I've been very proud of over the years, we've pretty much had no turnover. We used to run about 3% a year turnover. We won an award at Globecom as one of the 10 best companies to work for in New York State, and that's over 4,000 different companies that they looked at. And I think one of the things that we've always had was to treat people fairly, give them the ability to talk, have an open door policy, have them come in and talk to anybody, all their bosses at any time. Don't micromanage people. One of the things that I've always told the guys I work with was, do what you think is right. You know better than I do because you're closer to the problem. If you have any issues that bother you or you're not sure about, come to me, talk to me about it, and then I'm on the hook for whatever decision is made. I think that way we're able to have a company of people that would work directly with customers, be able to give them answers right on the spot, provide quotes to people right on the spot, and not have to worry about a lot of retribution if they made a mistake. I think the laws nowadays, there's an awful lot of them, especially if you're a public company. And I think knowing those laws and being in compliance, one of the things I'm really proud of, I've been in business between STS and Globecom 36, 37 years. We had one lawsuit way back in 1980 when the company I left sued us for supposedly hiring some of their people, which went away. I mean, the lawsuit went away. But in 36 years, we had one lawsuit. And at Globecom, we had no lawsuits. Never had a lawsuit. And that has to do with the way you treat people, your transparency of the company, and I think that's worth an awful lot, not to have to worry and get bogged down in any kind of litigation. Best thing I could say about financing a company, I've seen this happen a lot, where people are afraid to give up any kind of equity. They want to go ahead and they want to keep 100% of the company, 90% of the company, and try to get people to invest in them on a loan basis or some other basis. And I've seen 2 or 3 companies that were very good, and the management did not want to give up any equity, and basically in the end they were unable to raise the money. And I think having a good conservative CFO is very important. I think a good board of directors that's independent. I think this business about transparency with a company is extremely important. And that's, I think, having people that understand you're honest and have the integrity help you in a large extent to financing the company. So I just get back to integrity being extremely important on anything that you do, and transparency being important in everything you do. I think using the information age now is important. I think having good information, good metrics, having understanding where your business is, having an understanding about your cash flow, having an understanding about what your receivables are at all times, knowing how you're financing the company so that you don't get any trouble. I think there was a time when, in the early 2000s, when it was very easy to borrow money. I got involved with some companies that did borrow a lot of money. In the end, and they borrowed at pretty high interest rates. In the end, it sunk those companies because they couldn't afford it. They couldn't pay back the bills, and they ended up going into bankruptcy. Yeah. Okay, I think nowadays there are an awful lot of very good IT consulting firms around, and I think having the ability on a real-time basis, knowing exactly where your finances are, what's going on as far as your backlog and your receivables and your work in process and all that stuff is extremely important. And I think in the old days we were lucky to get any information within 2 or 3 weeks, where now you got it instantaneously, and I think that's extremely important. I think in teamwork, I think is very important. I think having a bunch of people together that really understand the business, understand each other, are able to work together and do it in a collegial manner, not necessarily being your best friend, but having respect for each other. And I got now 9 guys that have been together, I think an average of 25, 30 years, and we still get along with each other. We very rarely scream at each other. We very rarely have any kind of issues other than trying to get the job done. So we're in a startup mode now. We've got 900 square feet. I went from 150,000 square feet to 900 square feet. And, but having 900 square feet and 9 guys in a room is tremendous for communications. You can't beat it as long as you talk louder than the next guy. So it's been a good experience. Now I've had 7 months in this new company. We were 55 years and 7 months experience now. And a lot of old guys. We have some young guys. We got a very special on walkers so we can get around. And it's been a terrific ride as far as I'm concerned. And I think getting started and getting advice from your dad. My dad started his own company when he was in his late 50s. He was city engineer from Albany, and he was making more money on the side surveying, so he went out on his own firm, and they never did get a new one. And so my idea was to go work for my dad, but like I say, he saw how sloppy my drawings were, and he gave that job to my brother, and my brother took it over when my dad was like 85, but my dad never trusted him, so he watched him till he was 97. So good genes, and hopefully I can do exactly what my dad did. He ran a terrific business. He basically I don't think they ever did hire a new city engineer at all, because my dad ended up doing all the work. One little thing, this is about avoiding decline. One thing that's very tempting a lot of times is when you build a business up, is to start looking for something new. My old company I went to, just to give you an example, that I started in '76, satellite transmission system, which I sold to California Microwave. California Microwave was a very successful company. When I left there in '94, they're about a $400 million company, making about $40 million a year. They brought in the guy to run it. He was a Harvard Business School graduate. Not to say that's a bad thing, but in my business it's a very bad thing. So a lot of people quit, so I was one of the few guys still there when I left. And he ended up they ended up going into the internet business, because that was a hot thing to do then. And he pretty much sold off all his core businesses to go as internet business, and they hyped that up pretty good, and the stock went from $10, $20 a share to $200 a share. And about 6 to 8 months later, they were bankrupt. And that was because all their core business was sold off, and they went into this new thing called the internet, and a point to multi-point kind of product. And I think that's a great thing to go into new things. But what we've always tried to do, we've done a lot of things as we've gone. We always kept our core business, and we did things incrementally. I think doing new things incrementally are great, but there's no big silver bullet that's going to come along and all of a sudden make a company a real big success, because and if you've got that history and that core business and your core customers, you stick with that and you do things on an incremental basis. Anyway, so I'm sorry that this stuff was not rocket science. I'm sure maybe a lot of you, a lot of you understand all of this stuff. And I know I went through these slides real quick. If anybody wants a copy of it, I can send it to them. But it's they gave me 10 minutes, and that's about it. So we do 10 minutes.
Thank you, David.